So this is something you can all keep. Um, it's something I put together, just selected some of the most common Paritta chants that we do, and they do have really interesting origin stories to them, which, if people are familiar with, there's a number of very interesting origin stories in Bhikkhu Bodhi's new translation of Sutta Nipata with commentary. So in this book, about this much is Sutta Nipata, and this much is the commentary. So you have lots and lots of very interesting stories, and also it's called, most of what, this commentary is a couple different commentaries that Bhikkhu Bodhi's put together, but one chunk of it's called the Nidesa, which is a very, very well-known commentary in Thailand. So a lot of the stories that Kruba Ajahns tell come from the Nidesa, and you'll find things like, I believe it's in the commentary to the Mangala Sutta that you'll find in here, which is talks about the Buddha's daily schedule and what time the Buddha receives devas. So a deva goes and asks the Buddha about the highest blessings and what time that is during the day, and then it goes into the rest of his daily schedule. And so this is just like a reference sheet people can keep and do more further study, because if you understand where a lot of these chants come from, then you'll feel a lot more, Hisai always bring up about energy, you'll feel a lot more energy if you understand where they're coming from, a lot more devotion, and it'll be a much more powerful devotional exercise. Also because a lot of these verses invoke a certain energy, since they've been chanted over and over and over again, millions upon millions of times over the past almost 2,600 years. And they're very traditional chants. And I'll just talk briefly about a couple of these, and then I'll read from the Sutta Nipata commentary to the Ratana Sutta to show a little bit of an example of where one of these chants comes from, because it is an actual sutta that we recite as a Paritta chant. But then there's a reason that we chant it. For example, the Ratana Sutta would be for bringing good fortune and overcoming calamities. And then when you read the commentary, you know why, because that's how it originated. Or, for example, a very, very specific Paritta that we do only in specific circumstances is the Angulimala Paritta. As most people know, Angulimala was a mass murderer who then changed his ways and became one of the foremost disciples of the Buddha. And this very, very short Paritta chant is specifically done for expectant mothers so they have a good birth. So it's done right before they give birth. And then, because in this sutta, in Majjhima Nikaya 86, the Angulimala Sutta, this verse comes directly from this sutta where Angulimala is on alms round, and then he notices a woman having a lot of trouble with her delivery, and she's unable to give birth, and she's in immense pain. And after the alms round, he goes to the Buddha and tells the Buddha about it, and the Buddha says, "Go back to the village right now and go to that woman and tell her, since I was born, I've never intentionally deprived any being of life by the power of this truth. May you have a good birth." And that's the whole verse, that's the whole Paritta chant. And he says, "Well, of course I can't say that. I was, you know all about me. I can't say that I've never ever intentionally deprived a being of life." And he says, "Well, since you're not lying, because when you ordain, that's a type of birth. This is reckoned as birth in the Noble One's discipline. So you're not lying to say, 'Since my birth,' and so on." So then he goes and does the chant for her, and then she has and her pain disappears. She has a good birth. So then, over history, that's what this has become. So very interesting. And also another one which is interesting is, which I've listed here it's two sides, but the bottom of the first side is Vataka Paritang, the quail's protection. And again, I have like page 46, so it is in all of these are in our volume 2 chanting book, if people are interested. The Vataka Paritta is the quail's protection, and that's specifically against fires. So like many people all over the world were chanting this chant for when the fires were coming. Here I was doing this in Bodh Gaya, and people in England were doing this, would have been doing this chant, and so on. So but we don't really we have a very rough translation of it in an old green Paritta book that we have, but it's not very good. It comes from an obscure book called the Charya Pitaka, which we don't have like in an English version that I know about anyway. But in brief, it's a quail, and the fire's coming from all sides, and he cries out, "I have no mother, I have no father, I can't go any direction." And then the fire is named Jataveda, so he says, "Jataveda, the fire, go back." And then the fire goes back. And then these are some of these are very classic. And also briefly, I could just talk about like the power of memorizing some of these too, because rather than just reading from the book, when you actually like memorize something, and now that like Ajahn Kurnadamo and Lungpa Pasano have been talking about the cadence of the chanting and so on, and that can help with memorizing when we know what the cadence is going to be. And the power of actually memorizing something is that it is like different in the mind when you chant something from memory than when you read it. It does seem like you reflect on it more, and it's more you're internalizing it, and you can also access it any time. You don't need to carry a book around with you in order to chant it at any time or to recollect it during a meditation. So if people are interested, maybe later we can talk about some techniques of memorizing, if anybody is interested in that. There's just a couple ways that we do it. In brief, it's just we just hammer away at it until we get it. But you can do it in forward order, reverse order. Sometimes that works better for people. And so like when we do the Paritta chanting, we start with a traditional calling of the devas. Well, first they're like in Thailand, and we don't do this that much here, the lay people actually request Paritta chanting, similar to requesting the precepts, but there's actually a Paritta chant request. So that's also in the Volume 1 chanting book, I believe in the same section that the precepts are in. And then one of the monks, usually the third monk down the line, that's traditional in Thailand, usually the third monk down the line will be the one to call the devas or invite the devas. And in this chanting book, page 32, sometimes you see like obscure references with no explanation. So now you get the explanation. You have invitation to devas, page 32. You have A, paridvana metang sameta baranta avikita chitta paritang banantu. Then you have B, samanta chakawale su, and so on, but no explanation. What is A, what is B? So normally we never do B. B can just be ignored, those two lines. So A is the one we do. B is one that is that done in the Dhammayut? That's a Dhammayut Nikaya version of the chant. So we do A, we skip the two lines that are next to B, and then we do the rest. So, and this is also like different monks some monks will do it more monotone. This is like the one chant where we can express ourselves. And so this is, some monks will do a very sing-song way or all the way to the, being way, way over the top. So you might have anything from, the bare bones. We would do paritavana metang sameta baranta avikita chitta paritang banantu. But then sometimes you have like Paritawana meta, like really, really sing-song. So maybe there's a middle way somewhere in there. So we do that. We do the invitation to the devas. And Lungpa, were you going to read that from the Samyutta Nikaya, or are you just referencing it? Just referencing it. There is a very interesting sutta that Lungpa found in the Samyutta Nikaya, which talks about a certain bhikkhu. He doesn't give his name. He did chanting every day, but then he achieved arhatship, stopped chanting, and the devas were like, okay, what's going on? Why don't you chant anymore? So that's kind of like, probably might have something to do with why we have this inviting the devas, because it's understood that they enjoy hearing Dhamma and they like hearing Dhamma, enjoy hearing the monks chanting Dhamma. Normally we do this particular one first, which is on page 34. It starts with the line Yo cha kuma, and then it goes Mo hamala pakato sammang wabuto sugato vimuto. So we do the whole thing like a long string. Because there's a lot of us doing it, sometimes somebody will take a breath, but the others will still keep going. So it's done in that exact cadence as you learned. There's no deviations from that in all of these chants. And this one is just a Thai, like a compilation. I couldn't find any real reference to that. But it's invoking the qualities of Buddha Dhamma Sangha. The second one we do Namo Arahato Samma Sambuddha Sammahe Sino. So that's it's another traditional Thai compilation, and it's like increasing auspiciousness. So it's further paying homage to the things that we just chanted in the first one. Then the third one on page 36 here, because I just did this in order that they've come in the chanting book. Sometimes they're not always in this order. They'll jump around. That's why it's helpful to know these first lines. So I've included first lines of all these chants in here. But in the order of Chanting Book Volume 2, it goes into the Ratana Sutta. And this one begins Yang Kin Chi Dang Idawa Hurangwa. And this one is overcoming calamities. And just to give an example of what this sutta actually comes from, so I'll read an excerpt from the commentary just to give a flavor of it. And I believe, just like Visuddhimagga, this commentary is attributed to Acharya Buddhaghosa. And I won't even read the whole beginning of the commentary, because some of the commentaries don't even, they go into the history of the regions and where the suttas were given and so on. So like this commentary, it comes about because in the past it is said disasters such as famine arose in Vesali. In order to quell them, the Lichavis went to Rajagaha, asked the Blessed One to come, and brought him to Vesali. When he arrived, the Blessed One spoke this discourse in order to quell those disasters. That is a concise account, but the ancients have explained its origin in detail, starting from the story of Vesali. So then he goes in to describe the whole history of the Lichavis in Vesali, which is very interesting for anybody who wants to know that, given the page number on that sheet. But I'm going to skip over to it goes way into the past, and then it comes back to the present. By the time the Blessed One arose, Vesali had become large and successful. It had 7,707 royals and a similar number of princes, generals, treasurers, and so forth. As it is said, now on that occasion Vesali was successful and prosperous, populous, filled with people, and food was plentiful. It had 7,707 mansions, 7,707 houses with a peaked roof, 7,707 parks, and 7,707 lotus ponds. That's apparently in the Vinaya, that description. Sometime later, a famine struck with drought and crop failure. First the poor people died, and their bodies were cast outside. Then, drawn by the smell of the corpses, evil spirits entered the city. Then still more people died, and because of the decay, a plague broke out. Thus Vesali was overrun by 3 perils: famine, evil spirits, and plague. The citizens went to the king and said, "Great king, 3 kinds of peril have arisen in the city. Such a disaster has never arisen before, even back through 7 generations of royalty. This must have occurred now because of some unrighteous deed of yours." So they blame the king for this thing. The king called everybody to an assembly in the meeting hall and said, "Investigate whether there is any unrighteousness on my part." They investigated his entire lineage but did not see anything. Since they did not see any fault on the part of the king, they considered, "How can we quell this peril?" Some citizens suggested inviting the 6 teachers, saying, "As soon as they enter, it will subside." But others said, "The Buddha, it is said, has arisen in the world. The Blessed One, powerful and mighty, teaches the Dhamma for the benefit of beings. As soon as he enters, all the perils will subside." They were pleased with this and said, "But where is the Blessed One now dwelling? If we send for him, would he come?" But others said, "Buddhas are compassionate. Why shouldn't he come? That Blessed One is now living in Rajagaha, and King Bimbisara serves him. He would never allow him to come." "Then let us convince the king and bring him." They gave abundant presents to 2 Lichavi princes and sent them, accompanied by a large mass of troops, to King Bimbisara with the mission, "Make our case to Bimbisara and bring the Blessed One." They went there, gave the presents to the king, and informed him of their plight, saying, "Great king, send the Blessed One to our city." The king did not agree, but said, "You yourselves must ask him." They went to the Blessed One, venerated him, and said, "Bhante, in our city 3 perils have arisen. If the Blessed One comes, we will be saved." The Blessed One directed his attention to the situation and saw, when the discourse on gems, the Ratana Sutta, is spoken in Vesali, its protective power will pervade 100,000 kotis of world systems, and at the conclusion of the discourse, 84,000 living beings will make the breakthrough to the Dhamma. Thus he consented. When King Bimbisara heard that the Blessed One had consented, he had an announcement made in the city. "The Blessed One has agreed to go to Vesali." He approached the Blessed One and asked, "Bhante, have you agreed to go to Vesali?" "Yes, great king." "Then wait, Bhante, until we prepare the road." Then King Bimbisara had the 5 yojanas of ground between Rajagaha and the Ganges smoothed out, built a monastery at each yojana along the way, and announced the time for travel to the Blessed One. The Blessed One then set out accompanied by 500 bhikkhus. The king had the 5 yojanas of road strewn knee-deep with flowers of 5 colors, erected flags and banners, full jars and plantain trees, and provided 2 white parasols to be held above the Blessed One and 1 above each bhikkhu. He himself, along with his own retinue, accompanied the Blessed One for 5 days to the bank of the Ganges, making offerings of flowers, incense, and other items, settling the Blessed One in each monastery along the way, and giving great meal offerings. As at the bank of the Ganges, he decorated a boat with all adornments and sent a message to the people of Vesali. "The Blessed One has come. Prepare the road and let all come forward to receive him." The people of Vesali decided, "We will double the offerings." And so they smoothed the 3 yojanas of ground between Vesali and the Ganges, provided 4 white parasols for the Blessed One and 2 for each bhikkhu, and making offerings, they came to the bank of the Ganges and waited there. Bimbisara fastened together 2 boats, made a pavilion, and adorned it with wreaths of flowers and other items. So anyway, they're sending him off in that way. And then I'll get into the actual discourse. Thus the Blessed One spoke the discourse on gems at the entrance to the city of Vesali on the very day he arrived there for the purpose of dispelling those disasters. Having learned it, the Venerable Ananda, reciting it for the sake of protection, took water in the Blessed One's bowl and walked around the entire city sprinkling the water. As soon as the elder said, "Whatever," and meaning that's the very first word of the sutta, as soon as Ananda said "whatever," those evil spirits had not already fled. Those living off the rubbish heaps along the walls and elsewhere fled through the 4 gates, so that the gates were crammed. Some, unable to find room at the gates, broke through the walls and fled. As soon as the evil spirits had left, the plague afflicting people's bodies subsided. Coming out, they made offerings to Ananda with all sorts of incense, etc. Then Saka, ruler of the Devas, gets involved, and then 84,000 people make breakthrough to the Dhamma, etc. And the plague is gone. So then, in some of these commentaries, there's really interesting side lessons, and this one certainly has that. So at the very end of it, when the Buddha's getting ready to leave the city, then people are in awe and wonder how he walked all the way there, knee-deep in flowers and so on, and how could that must have been the power and might of a Buddha. And he says, no, that's just because of a small act of generosity. This is because of kamma. Don't think it's because of any psychic powers. And the Buddha says, at the end of this, he says, once upon a time, bhikkhus, there was a Brahmin at Takasila named Sankha. He had a son, a young man named Susima, 16 years of age, who one day approached his father, paid homage to him, and stood to one side. His father said to him, "What is it, dear Susima?" He replied, "I wish, father, to go to Varanasi to learn a craft." "In that case, Susima, the Brahmin so-and-so is my friend. Go and study under him." And then he gave him 1,000 kahapanas. The young man took the money, paid homage to his parents, and eventually reached Varanasi. He approached the teacher in a respectful manner, paid homage to him, and announced himself. The teacher received the youth as his friend's son and showed him every hospitality. When he had dispelled his fatigue from the journey, the youth placed the 1,000 kahapanas at the teacher's feet and asked for the opportunity to learn a craft. The teacher consented and taught him. The boy learned quickly and learned much, and whatever he learned, he retained in mind without losing it, as if it were lion oil placed in a golden vessel. After just a few months, he completed the study of the craft that normally takes 12 years to learn. While making a recitation, he saw only the beginning and middle, but did not see the end. He then approached the teacher and said to him, "I see only the beginning and the middle of this craft, but I do not see its end." The teacher replied, "I too, dear, am in the same position." "In that case, teacher, who knows the end of this craft? In Isipatana there are rishis, they may know. Let me approach them and ask. Do as you wish." The boy went to Isipatana, approached some Pacheka Buddhas, and asked them, "Do you know the beginning, middle, and end?" "Yes, friend, we know." "Teach me that too." "In that case, friend, go forth. It isn't possible for a layperson to learn this." "Please, Bhante, let me go forth, or do whatever you wish so that you can teach me the end." They then gave him the going forth, but since they were unable to instruct him in a meditation subject, they taught him the principles of proper conduct, such as how to wear the lower robe and the upper robe. As he trained with them, since he possessed supporting conditions, in no long time he realized Pacheka enlightenment. In all Varanasi he became known as the Pacheka Buddha Susima. He reached the peak of gain and fame and acquired a retinue. However, because in the past he had done kamma leading to a short lifespan, before long he attained final nibbana. The other Pacheka Buddhas and the multitude of people cremated the body, took his relics, and built a stupa at the entrance to the city. Then the Brahmin Sankha thought, "My son has been gone a long time, and I have not heard any news about him." Wishing to see his son, he left Takasila and eventually reached Varanasi. Seeing a multitude of people who had assembled there, he considered, "Surely someone in this crowd has some news about my son." So he approached and asked, "A young man named Susima has come here. Do you have any news about him?" They replied, "Yes, Brahmin, we know about him. He mastered the 3 Vedas under a Brahmin in this city, went forth under the Pacheka Buddhas, and having become a Pacheka Buddha, he attained final Nibbana through the Nibbana element without residue remaining. This stupa has been built for him." The Brahmin struck the earth with his hand, wept and lamented, went to the terrace of the Chetya, plucked out the weeds, brought sand in his upper garment, and scattered it over the terrace of the Pacceka Buddha's chetya. He sprinkled the ground all around with water from his water pot, made an offering of woodland flowers, set up a banner made from cloth, and tied his own parasol above the stupa. Thereupon he left. Having related this birth story about the past, the Blessed One gave the bhikkhus a Dhamma talk, connecting it with the present thus. It may be, bhikkhus, that you think he who at that time was the Brahmin Sankha was someone else, but you should not look at the matter in such a way. At that time I was the Brahmin Sankha. I plucked out the weeds on the terrace of the Pacceka Buddha's Susima's chetya. As a consequence of that kamma of mine, they removed the stumps and thorns along the 8 yojana journey and made the ground smooth and clean. I scattered sand there. As a consequence, they scattered sand over the 8 yojana journey. I made an offering of woodland flowers. As a consequence, over the 9 yojana journey, including land and water, they made a carpet with various flowers. I moistened the ground with water from my pot. As a consequence, a lotus leaf rain fell on Vesali. I set up a banner at that chetya and tied a parasol there. As a consequence, banners were set up and row upon row of parasols were raised aloft, right up to the Akanita heaven. Thus, bhikkhus, this distinguished offering was not produced for me by my spiritual might as a Buddha, nor by the spiritual might of the Nagas, Devas, and Brahmas. Rather, it was produced by the spiritual power of a slight act of generosity in the past. At the conclusion of the Dhamma talk, he recited this verse. If, by renouncing a slight happiness, one sees a greater happiness ahead, the wise person should give up the slight happiness, seeing a greater happiness ahead. So that's the end of the commentary to the Ratana Sutta. That's just tiny excerpts from the beginning and end. It's very, very long. And I've probably said enough for the time being. Is there any questions? You get a sense of how powerful these chants are for people in Buddhist cultures who know all of these stories and know what the chanting is actually connected with. So.
Most people grow up with the sort of the stories they get told and they hear as they're growing up.
Are these not as effective in English? Is there something
I'm sorry?
Are these not as effective in English, or is there something with the rhythm and the energy that goes with it that helps make it what it is?
Like if you actually chanted in English, I would think it's very effective if you know that because like what matters is like the devotion and the energy that goes into it. But there is something about the Pali in terms of tapping into an ancient tradition where it's been chanted in that language. I think it can be more effective in English sometimes in terms of contemplating the meaning of it, but then sometimes it gets like the translation isn't quite hitting the mark, or like it depends on the translation as well. But also memorizing in English, just like memorizing in Pali, I found very helpful for recollecting and being able to tap into these things.
Do you find the chants as resonant for you, knowing the stories and everything behind them? For example, here as in Thailand?
Yeah. Like, I mean, in Thailand, sometimes you get 100 monks full of faith. You know, it's much smaller here, so you get if you're at Wat Pah Pong and you have 300 monks doing Purita chanting, and you can feel the faith in the room just vibrating. But yeah, if you, like for me, knowing the meaning and knowing the commentaries makes it more powerful and makes you able to, like, if you're leading the chanting, you might choose, like, say 7 different chants, and you can choose different ones based on the occasion. Yeah. Yes?
So in this book I noticed that most of them are just in Pali and do not have English translations. Is there a location you can go to find the English translations?
Well, like a number of them, like this is why I have the references for this sheet here. but some of them you don't really have a good translation, like the quail's protection. You don't have a good translation of that. You just have to, I mean, there's a very bad translation of it, just very, very rough, probably done by somebody who just had a dictionary with them or something. But a lot of them are directly from the suttas, so you can go to the sutta reference, and some of them, even the whole sutta is around that chant. So like on the back, you have the very last one, the 28 Buddha's protection. That's an actual sutta in the Digha Nikaya 32. And for example, like the Bojjhanga Paritta, the 7 factors of enlightenment protection, that's done for sickness or for dispelling illness, because in the Samyutta Nikaya there's 3 suttas in a row where that's used to dispel illness. One is where the Buddha, Mahakassapa is ill, and the Buddha reminds him of the 7 factors of enlightenment, and then his illness subsides. One of them, the Buddha himself is ill, and has one of the monks chant it for him, and the Buddha recovers. So very interesting. So that paritta is just like, it's not exact from those suttas, but it's like recollecting those suttas. Yeah. But it's slightly restructured.
So a related question as it relates to doing bad translations. If one is interested in studying Pali more, not just the chants, but the vocabulary and the grammar, as I see the chants, I start to see some similar, I start to pick up a little bit of vocabulary, but then with all the inflection and everything, I'm wondering how that pieces together, and it would be more informative for me when I start picking up those things to see it from chant to chant. So is there any like online source or any really good books to recommend for a study of Pali per se?
Yeah, Suhaja is more of a Paliwala than I am. I've done 3 months of Pali study at one time, but.
Sure. I can actually recommend a new course in reading Pali, both because of it's kind of intermediate, but one thing it does do is that everything in it is excerpts from suttas, and also some of the chanting that we do. Actually, the book starts with analyzing Buddhang Saranam Gacchami, so if you refugees. Yeah, there's probably 3 or 4 quite good books that I could recommend, but yeah, maybe we can speak afterwards or something on specifics.
Did you want to? Yes, Tim.
There's a couple books that have some of these in English. One of them is called The Book of Protection.
That's the one with the really bad translation. Yeah.
There's a lot of other...
But it does give you the basic meaning.
Well, and some of the... I mean, there's a lot of parittas in that book, and they're not all bad.
Yeah.
Translated by Abhayagiri. I don't know who that is. And then there's one other book in English. Hold on. Of course, it never cooperates when you're trying to do something.
But I want to put in a plug for reading these commentaries, because for me it makes the Buddha, well, it does make it a lot more human. There is a lot of miraculous things that happen, but also there's kind of some interesting humor and stuff where like he leads up to something, but then he says, well, things don't actually work like that, you know. Like it's really like in the Metta Sutta, where the Buddha gives the Metta Sutta to bhikkhus who are wanting to spin the vasa somewhere and they're assailed by spirits, and he says, go back and chant this protection, you'll be okay. But in the commentary for that, it says, or maybe it's the commentary for the Mangala Sutta, one of those, but then he goes into, well, there's 4 different types of discourses that can be given, and one is when a question is asked. So a Buddha will discourse when a question is asked. Sometimes he'll discourse unasked. So there's asking discourses, there's unasked discourses, there's comprehensible discourses, and there's incomprehensible discourses. And so then I thought, that's kind of a strange list. And then he says, well, when the Buddha's asked a question, he gives a discourse. Sometimes it's unasked, he gives an example. Comprehensible discourse, he gives an example. And then he says, well, Buddha's never giving comprehensible discourses, so he doesn't talk about that one.
The other one is called the Parita Chants for Special Blessing, and it's Sri Lankan.
Actually, that's true. On Access to Insight, you might find some good translations of some of these you might just search for them, like the Quail's Protection. Like, actually, Piyadasi's translation might be better than the book I was thinking of. Actually, I think the book is actually different than one I was thinking of. Piyadasi's are actually fairly okay, it seems. There's another one here, the Khanda Parita for snakes. These things they kind of seem strange. They do seem to work. If you encounter a snake on the trail here, if a monk encounters a snake, usually our knee-jerk reaction will be to start chanting this particular one. And I remember being with a monk in Pujamgam, and he had a problem with a viper, which would sit outside the entrance to his kuti, so he was scared to go into his kuti, so he came and got me, and it was late at night. And I said, did you try chanting that chant for it? And he said, no, those don't work. Those chants don't work. He said, so I didn't. I said, well, did you try? He said, no, because I already know it doesn't work. And so I went with him, and then the snake was there. And so it was a viper coiled up in front of his kuti, and so I just, Virupake hime me tang, and then it started like jiggling back and forth, and he's like, it's just a coincidence, it's just a coincidence. And then it went away, and okay, well, you can go back to your kuti. So that's just the first thing I'll just try, just because I've been a monk for long enough that it just seems to work. I don't know why. Is there anything else we're supposed to do today? Oh, yeah.
I was just wondering about the pitches for the Parita chanting. Is there any rule of thumb, or just listen to when they happen?
It's usually 3 as well, but it kind of depends on the group you're with. So like, the first Parita chant, Yo Chakuma, it's like, Yo Chakuma mo hamala pakato samang wabuto sugato vimuto mara sapasa venimo chai. It's just Dante Sikema.
Chanting, you forgot that oftentimes the lower tone is a half syllable, and it's a long one. And sometimes that holds, and sometimes it doesn't. Oftentimes that doesn't hold, but it's mostly just
Yeah. It's like Bhutang Warantang Sirasa Namami, but that sa comes from the Thai, because S in Thai naturally goes up. So it's like a strange carryover that we don't, if you've never studied Thai or whatever, you don't realize that's kind of where it comes from. And even in Thai it actually goes it's like Sirasa Namami, like that. So that's built into Thai language. But then it has become a high tone for us.
since you were reading from the commentary and it's talking about the Pacceka Buddhas, it's always bothered me about the verses of sharing and aspiration. It makes a reference to the Pacceka Buddha. And, in the Pali it's Pacceka Buddha. And in English it's the solitary Buddha is my noble guide.
Yeah.
So, can you explain what's going on there?
I don't have any good explanation for that. But that isn't a sutta, though. That's a Thai compilation. That sharing of merit, is it the fourth king? It's Sri Lankan as well. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. But it's not from a sutta, though. It's some sort of, it's like a traditional, some sort of traditional compilation.
It's like setting an aspiration, dedicating blessings, sharing blessings, dedicating merit. And I think one of the things that one does as a, say, devotional hat, cover all your bases.
Yeah, there's that because Pacceka Buddhas play a big part in the suttas. My thought too is different, like the word Pacceka, just like the word kappa, which means aeon, it has like 20 different meanings based on the context. So it could possibly mean like the Buddha alone is my noble guide, or only the Buddha. It just seems possible that's a possible interpretation as well. Or both. Both or neither. So. But he did talk about Pacceka Buddhas in the commentary a little bit, in that because they're Pacceka Buddhas, they couldn't give him a meditation subject, which seems to be some quality. They don't have a dispensation, but they still give him the going forth, and they still they have goodwill for people, and they want to help people, but they don't like formulate a teaching, it seems. That seems to be a quality of Pacceka Buddhas. Yeah.
About doing some, go through with questions and things like that, talking about chanting the Upāsikā 3 times together.
That's a really good idea. We could go to
It could be
It's page 44, book 2.
44 book 2. So that these are the I mentioned it earlier, and it was this Iti Piso chant is this goes right back to the suttas and early days of the Buddhism, and the recollection of the qualities. Like the Buddha Dhamma Sangha Guna. Guna is a quality, a wholesome quality. And so that there's 9 particular qualities of the Buddha, and so the blessed one is thus iti piso bhagava arahang. So he's a purified being, samma sambuddho, perfectly enlightened by himself. Vichācarana sampanno, perfect in knowledge and conduct. Sugato, well gone. Lokavido, knower of the worlds. Anuttaro purisa dhammasarnati. This is a foremost trainer of those to be trained. Sattadeva manusanang, teacher of gods and humans. Buddho, awakened. Bhagava, blessed, and bringing blessings, one steeped in blessings. So these are 9 qualities. Whenever one recollects the Buddha, those are the 9 primary qualities, and similarly, they say the Dhamma of the Blessed One is well taught. And so that again, in our morning and evening chanting, then oftentimes we'll do the English of this, but as a Pali chant, these are the sort of the kind of the qualities that of Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha that are most salient, most important. So this is a chant that's been utilized and relied on for a millennia. And this is the one that I told about, the elephant, protection from the elephant, or protection from anything. So this is the sort of the handy dandy all-purpose chant for everything. And this is also the chant that I was saying, where there oftentimes people will gather and they'll do 108 chantings of it. And but I thought maybe we could chant it together. And oftentimes what we've done when we've done circumambulations here in Abhayagiri, then we've done the first time going around, we keep chanting over and over the Itipiso Bhagavata, recollection of the Buddha. Second time of going around the circumambulation, chanting the qualities of the Dhamma. Third time chanting the qualities of the Sangha, so that it's used in different ways. But maybe what we could do is do this chant together. Chant it 9 times. Yeah, why not? And then just chant it together, and then we can sit meditation after that. Use it as a preparation for bringing energy, brightening the mind, recollecting, and then we can sit meditation to close out the afternoon. We're coming to the end of the Upāsikā day. Itipiso bhagava arahang samma sambuddho vichājalana sambanno sugato lokavidu anuttaro purisa dhamma sarlati sattha deva manusanang buddho bhagavati savakato bhagavata Dhammo sande diko akaliko he Upāsikā ho panayiko pachatang veditambo vinyu heti supatipanno bhagavato savaka sangho hucupatipanno bhagavato Vakasangho nyaya patipanno bhagavato savakasangho sami chipatipanno bhagavato savakasangho yadidang jana ripulisa yogani yata pulisa pogala hesa bhagavato savakasangho Pahunayo, pahunayo, and vinayo, jali, hanu talang bunya ketang lo kasati itipiso bhagavara Dhamma sambuddho vichājalana sambanno sugato lokavidu anuttaro purisa dhamma sarlati sattha deva manusa นะโมโตภะคะวะติสวากขาโตภะคะวะตาธัมโมสันนิติโกวะคะนิโกเอหิภาสิโกปะนายิโกปัจจตังเวทิตัมโมวินยูเฮติสุปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆอุจุปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆญาญาปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆสามีจิปฏิปันโนเฮติดังยานาลิโพลิสโยกานิยาตโพลิสโภกลาเฮสะภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆอาหุเนยโยภาหุเนยโยดากินายโยอัญญลิกรณิโยอนุตรังมุญญาเกทังโลกาสัตติติปิโสภะคะวะอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิชาจรณะสัมปันโนสุขโตโลกวิทูอนุตตโลโพลิสดัมมสารติสัตตาเดวมนุสานังบุตโตภะคะวะติสวากขาโตภะคะวะตาธัมโมสันนิติโกอะคาลิโกเอนิพาสิโกโหปะนายิโกปัจจตังเวนิตัมโมอินโยเฮติสุปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆจุปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆญาญาปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆสามีจิปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆยะติทังยานหาริโพลิสโยกานิยาดะโพริสโภกลาเฮสะภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆอาหุเนยโยภาหุเนยโยดากินายโยอัญญลิกรณิโยอนุตตรบุญญาเกทาโลกาสัตติอิติปิโสภะคะวะอะระหังสัมมาวิชาจรณะสัมปันโนสุขโตอนุตตโลโพลิสดัมมสารติสัตตาเทวมนุสานังบุตโธภะคะวะติสวากขาโตภะคะวะตาธัมโมสันนิติโกอะคาลิโกเอหิปัสสิโกปะนายิโกปัจจตังเวทิตัมโมวินยูเฮติสุปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆอุจุปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆญาญาปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆมิจิปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆยะติดังยานะบริโภลิสโยคานิยาตโพลิสโภกลาเฮสะภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆวะหุเนยโยภาหุเนยโยนากินายโยอัญญลิกรณิโยอนุตตรังมุญญาเก เกทังโลกาสาติติปิโสภะคะวะอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิชาจรณะสัมปันโนสุขโตโลกวิทูอนุตตโรบริสดัมมัสสารติสัตตะเทวมนุสานังบุตโตภะคะวะติสวากขาโตภะคะวะทาธัมโมสันเนติโกอะคาลิโกเอหิปัสสิโกโหปนัยโกปัจจานังเวทิตัมโมอินโยเหติสุปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆหุจุปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆญาญาปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆสามีจิปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆยะเดดังยานหาริปุริสโยกานิยะนะปุริสโภคัลลาเหสะภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆอาหุเนโยปาหุเนโยอันดางินายโยอัญญลิกรณิโยอนุตตรังบุญญาเกทังโลกาสาติติปิโสภะคะวะอะระมุตโธวิชาจารณะสัมปันโนสุขโตโลกวิทูอนุตตโรปุริสดัมมัสสารติสัตตะเทวมนุสานังมุตโธภะคะวะติสวากขาโตภะคะวะตาธัมโมสันเนติโกอะคาลิโกเอนิปาสิโกโหปนัยโกปัจจตังเวนิตัมโมวินโยเหติสุปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆหุจุปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆญาญาปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆสามีจิปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆอดิดังยานหาริปุริสโยกานิยาตปุริสโภคัลลาเหสะภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆอาหุเนโยปาหุเนโยอันดากินายโยอัญญลิกรณิโยอนุตตรังพุญญาเกทังโลกาสาติติปิโสภะคะวะอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิชาจรณะสัมปันโนสุขโตโลกวิทูอนุตตโรปุริสดัมมัสสารติสัตตะเทวมนุสานังพุทโธภะคะวะติสวากขาโตภะคะวะทาธัมโมสันเนติโกอะคาลิโกเอหิปัสสิโกโหปนัยโกปัจจตังเวทิตัมโมวินโยหิติสุปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆหุจุปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆญาญาปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆสามีจิปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆอดิดังยานหาริปุริสโยกาโภคัลลาเหสะภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆอาหุเนโยป
ปาหุเนโยดากินายโยอัญชลีกรณิโยอนุนรังมุญญาเกทังโลกาสัตติยติปิโสภะคะวะอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิชาชรณะสัมปันโนสุขโตโลกวิทูอนุตตโลโพลิสดัมมสารติสัตตะเนวมนุสานังพุทโธภควาติสวากขาโตภควตาธัมโมสันตินิโคอาคาลิโคเอหิปัสสิโกโหปนายโกภาชาตังเวดิตัมโมอินโยเฮติสุปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆอุจุปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆญาปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆสามีจิปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆอดิดายะตาลิโพลิสยุกานิยาตโพลิสโภกลาเอสะภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆอะหุเนโยปาหุเนโยดากินายโยอัญชลิกรณิโยอนุตตรังมุญญาเกทังโลกาสัตติยติปิโสภะคะวะอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิชาญาณสัมปันโนสุขโตโลกวิทูอนุตตโลโพลิสธัมมสารติสัตตะเทวมนุสานังพุทโธภะคะวะติสวากขาโตภะคะวะตาธัมโมสันเหติโกอาคาลิโกเอหิปัสสิโกโหปนายโกปัจจัตตะเวดิตัมโมวินโยเหติสุปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆอุจุปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆญาปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆสามีจิปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆอดิดังญาณนิยาตโพลิสโภกลาเฮสะภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆอาหุเนโยภาหุเนโยโยอัญญลีกรณิโยอนุตตรังมุญญาเกทังโลกาสัตติ Okay, we can just sit quietly.
Why don't we close with verses of carrying aspiration? Verse 33. All is found the verses of sharing of aspiration. Goodness that arises from my practice, may my spiritual teachers and guides of great virtue, my mother, my father, and my relatives, the sun and the moon, and all virtuous leaders of the world, may the highest gods and evil forces, celestial beings, guardian spirits of the earth, and the Lord of death, may those who are friendly, indifferent, or hostile, may all beings receive the blessings of my life, may they soon attain the threefold bliss, and realize the deathless, through the goodness that arises from my practice, and through this act of sharing, may all desires and attachments quickly cease, and all harmful states of mind, until I realize Nibbana in every kind of birth. May I have an upright mind, with mindfulness and wisdom, austerity and vigor. May the forces of delusion not take hold, nor weaken my resolve. The Buddha is my excellent refuge. Unsurpassed is the protection of the Dhamma. The solitary Buddha is my noble guide. The Sangha is my supreme support. Through the supreme power of all these, may darkness and delusion be